Let's start the subcommittee of the Public Safety Committee on the use of force policy. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the roll?
Alderman Vaquero.
Present.
Alderman Carter. Alderwoman Spencer.
Here.
Alderwoman Green. Chairman French.
Present.
We have 3 present. We have a quorum.
Great. So this is the 4th hearing of the committee. As you know, we started this a few months ago, and our directive from the chairman goes through the end of this month. Now, we do have the possibility as a committee to request of the chair to extend it to the end of session, which would give us another 2 weeks. The end document that the chairman asked us to prepare would be a short report that would be distributed to the rest of the Board of Aldermen. And so I think it's probably a good point for us to discuss what our next steps are, what does the committee, if there's any other information, anybody else we need to hear from before we start preparing our report, and then discuss the actual preparing of the report. So I'll take comments or questions, but first, is there any other information or other parties that you think the committee need to hear from before we start preparing the report?
As you know, I was not able to make the last 2 meetings, so I suppose I maybe could be given the opportunity to take a look at those on YouTube.
So we prepared a website, forcepolicy.org.
I did check that out this morning.
It's got the videos from all the hearings and all the documents that we've received.
Oh, it might not show up the same way on the phone.
On the phone, there's like a little sub thing you have to hit, and it shows you all the menu items.
Okay,
Yeah.
all I saw was the front page, and I thought, I didn't think there was more to it. Okay, so.
And there's also a section there for the public to be able to email us questions, comments, suggestions.
Okay, so I would have to reserve my request for further information until I take a look at that stuff.
Okay. Okay. Alderman Carr?
No, I don't have a whole lot. I know one of the things we talked about, and then they started to implement already, and that was a drug testing policy. As far as for my part, I think I've heard pretty much everything. We had the chief and everybody came in. I'm kind of interested to see what everybody thinks, but it seems like everything we've been talking about, they've been reacting to prior to us even putting out the report. So I'm anxious to see, where we go. And I don't know if we need the 2 extra weeks or not. I'm good with whatever. So if you want extra weeks, I'm good. If you're good, I'm also good.
Again, this is all on the website, but all the documents that have been given to us are on the website. There are at least 12 documents that cover the overall use of force policies through the years. There are the 2 reports from, I think, Professor Klinger at UMSL, I believe. Is that UMSL, Professor Klinger's from? 2 reports he's done over the years of independent analysis of the use of force in the city of St. Louis. The chief had mentioned that Professor Klinger was working on a 3rd one, and he was going to give us that when it was completed. That was at his testimony, I think, back in September, October. Do you know if that is been completed?
At this point, no. I don't think it is, sir.
Okay. All right. Is any kind of a draft?
Normally what happens,
Would you mind taking the,
I'm sorry.
and identify yourself for the record?
Sure,
please?
yes, sir. I'm Major Rochelle D. Jones. I'm the Deputy Commander, Bureau of Operations. And what normally happens when the chief gets those type of documents, that's very important to the staff, he would push that out to us. And by that I mean he'll email it out to us. And when we have our meetings every Wednesday, we have staff meetings with the chief, we would specifically discuss that. So it's going to be my assumption, and I think it's a pretty good assumption, that we have not received that document. He hasn't received that document right now.
So Mr. Klinger, this would be his 3rd report. He did one in 2008, I think, and then 2012. So if that final report that he's been working on isn't prepared yet, maybe it is a possibility we can invite the professor to the committee to talk to us about his previous reports and his current report that he's working on, if that is something the committee would like to hear, since he is the one that actually has been spending some time analyzing the situation for several years.
And I'll let the chief know you was asking about it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So that's a possibility. Thank you.
thank you.
I would find that to be a worthwhile time spent.
Okay. So I'll reach out to Professor Klinger and see if he can make it to next week's hearing. And then I think we should probably discuss the actual preparation of the report, how best to handle that. I can do a lot of the work, but I would also like a little assistance in that. Maybe we can do a working group of, I guess we couldn't do more than 3. We couldn't do more than 2 members, because then it would be a quorum. Is that correct? So it could only,
Do two.
2
without
members.
quorum.
All right.
So you can actually meet one-on-one with each member, since you're preparing the final report, and never have more than one-on-one at a meeting. So it'd be you, and then bring each
Mhm.
person in. You could do that any time, and you wouldn't have to call a meeting, and you would never have a quorum.
Okay. Would you like to provide some assistance and help in putting this report together?
Sure, yes, I would, and I was gonna say, we could, I think, maybe, to Alderman Vaccaro's point, we could set up a couple duos, and that way you're not stretched across all of them. I could volunteer to meet with you one-on-one, and then with somebody else,
Mhm.
depending on schedule. So perhaps we could just, over the next week or two, have a couple of one-on-one sessions across the subcommittee.
What I would also suggest too is perhaps we, this document that we work on, we do as a Google Doc.
Okay.
And that way we all can
Sure.
see the living document together, and if anybody wants to make any changes or additions, we can all work on the same document.
It might be helpful to put together a framework of things to kind of work on in separate groups, so we have some kind of framework, items to cover, kind of,
Mhm.
in an organized way to think about things, perhaps. Provide some direction.
And I think at the very least, we would have a summary of many of the documents, the use of force policy, maybe a timeline on certain events, an analysis. One of the documents that the police department did provide us just in the last week, which is on the website, is a breakdown of year-to-year uses of force between 2010 and 2015 through the end of 2015. And it gives a little bit of detail on each incident.
That's this here?
I believe so, yes. No, it's the, so that is one, but if you look at the other document,
I
it-
gotcha.
it gives a little bit more
So see,
detail.
it showed up, I just thought it was about.
Mhm.
So that's why I didn't.
Yes. You got it.
This is helpful.
Yeah, so that'll be helpful. I'll also put a link to the Google Doc that we'll use. It'll be password protected, though. Okay.
I don't think you could just do one-on-one, and then if you're preparing the final document, then we'll have a final meeting to just,
Hmm.
you know.
We have another meeting scheduled for Monday, which is the final day. So I think it probably would be best to ask the chairman to extend it for 2 weeks. We'll do our final meeting next week, and then that will give us until the last day of session to submit our final report to the committee, to the full board. Now, we will probably have to have a meeting before then as a board, to approve the final report, and then submit that to the full body.
So my last would be, so if you do the one-on-one, and I know this probably puts more work on you than you want, but if you can keep sending out the document, like, say, after you meet with me, for instance, and you make whatever suggestions, if you email it to the board, I think that's doable, right, without breaking any rules, I would think.
You mean send it to the
I
committee?
mean, to the committee.
So what we're
then
going to do
each
is
committee
have
member-
a Google document which is live, and so anybody can look at it at any time, and anytime we make changes. And so instead of having a file floating around that's an old file,
Okay.
it's only one file, and it's live, and everybody can see it. All the committee members can see it.
You're gonna keep updating it after each meeting with each member?
Yep, and other members can update it as well.
Okay, and then this way, if any one member feels, this way, if any member feels like they want to make an additional change, you can just call you and say, hey,
Or they can do it
well, then
themselves.
we have to,
They can go in and make a suggested change and say themselves in the document. Yeah. We're gonna get you up to speed in new technology here, Alderman.
I've been working on that.
All right, so with that, I think I'll make a motion that we request of the chairman of the Public Safety Committee to extend the subcommittee's term through the end of the session, which is March.
March 11th is our last regular meeting, but it's up, the final day is April 10th
Okay.
of the session.
Well, we have,
April 10th?
we have signing day on the 17th, right?
April 17th?
I mean, look, but I thought it's 17 and 18. I was gonna look at the calendar letter, but I believe signing day is 17th and the new session's the 18th. Let me look on the calendar letter.
So for the sake of the motion, let's just say, I'll make a motion that we request of the chairman of the Public Safety Committee to extend the term of this subcommittee through the last day of this session.
And I will second that.
Second, roll call vote. No, just, aye.
Aye.
There we go. Have a vote.
So, let's see.
What date you got there?
Monday, April the 18th is signing day,
Oh, that's
so that's the last day of the
Okay.
session. And then the new session starts the 19th.
So I imagine we'll finish this by the last scheduled regular meeting date, but just in case.
Okay.
All right, any other information requests of the police department, or any questions, comments? Nope. Great, that was a short meeting. Excellent, so you're going to put in that request, a formal request to the chairman. I'll also talk to him. And, and then Professor Klinger, we'll schedule him for next week. All right? You're going to make that? You're going to make your meeting in time? All right. Committee adjourned.